50 years later, Rocky Horror is still in theaters. When you made the film, did you know that it would hold on to audiences like it has?
No, we knew that it was that it was exciting and that it was energetic and that it was something different. And we knew that, and but we didn't know just how different it was going to be be thought of over the years. I mean, it was really a reflection of what was going on in mid 70s, in London with the whole glam rock thing and Bowie and all those people. We weren't the first ones to put makeup on men, there was a lot of that going on in show business. And but what they didn't have, what we thought, was the music. They didn't have Richard O'Brien's take on the B movie, a sci-fi history that he always enjoyed and really was his inspiration. And I think the naughtiness of it, in a way, is what keeps its appeal too. And the fact that the audience has discovered it right after it opened and not well, and created its own experience and just threw a party every midnight somewhere, at some theater, and friends came together, strangers came together and created this community, this family of Rocky Horror, which is it's an enduring family. I was at a we were at a screening the other night, and at the shadow cast, those are the actors who do the show in front of the movie.
Hmm.
And when we do these evenings, we always get the best shadow cast from that area. And the other night I was in, I don't know, Missouri or something, and I met a guy who had been in a shadow cast for 47 years.
Wow.
47 years playing the criminologist. He was the sweetest guy, and I've given all of his information to the fan club, and hopefully there'll be some things about him because I've never known anybody who's been in a shadow cast for 47 years. And they usually age out of it. They go, well, I've been doing this for 15 years every Friday and Saturday night, and I need a break. You know, so that's that.
And what does it mean for you personally when you see these audiences and to have been the original Brad Majors and just seeing it trickle down?
Well, it's like actors don't usually get the opportunity to be in something that has this kind of effect, I think, socially and politically and ongoing, and so when I see an audience react, a lot of them will come up to us afterwards or anywhere we are, and there'll be tears and there'll be thank you, the thank yous, and oh, you helped me so much in my life and figuring out who and what I wanted to be, um there's a lot of tears and there's a lot of joy in the self exploration. And I think that's something that I'm the most proud of in terms of my involvement in it, because of 50 years later, it's still changing lives and sometimes saving lives.
For sure. When you look back on being on set all those years ago, do you have a favorite memory that comes to mind or something that stands out?
Well, I think maybe in the last moment where we're crawling around on the earth, and it was our last scene we were shooting. It was superheroes, it's called at the end. And they did that, the camera thing that goes up and shows us crawling around, they yelled cut and finish and that print. And we I got very emotional because I had become so close so quickly. It's only a 5-week shoot. I had become so close to these people, and so involved in their world because the world was so different for Brad and Janet. That, we were the Americans who were brought in uh, quickly, and we're always slightly not part of the group because most of them had done it for years on stage somewhere, and so I got very emotional, and I realized that this was an important point in my life, these people and this theme, uh, and I think I was just also happy to get warm again because it was freezing. We were crawling around in mud, wet, and uh, you hate to say it was a miserable shoot, I mean, because that's what a lot of people talk about. There was no heat, there was no bathrooms, we were always wet, and Susan got pneumonia, and uh, but that's not really what I remember. I remember the people, and I remember the creativity that was going on around me, and whether he's the cinematographer or the set designer or Sue Blaine, the costume lady who probably is responsible for that whole punk look that eventually took over the world. These people who were at the top of their game creatively, and I had come from New York and been around a lot of these sort of underground creators too, but this was a whole different level of people working together to create something that, first of all, there wasn't any money, so they're pulling props from their bedrooms, and because of that, it has this kitschy look. It has this look of so individualistic, and costumes and sets, and I just think, and I knew I was going to miss that, and I was going to miss that energy, that creative energy, you know. So I cried.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Is there a moment when you see these shadow casts do the show that you look forward to seeing their interpretation of, or that always makes you smile?
Um, yes, I mean, I always like I always like Frankenfurter's entrance, and how the audience, they know it's going to happen. I mean, they see it on film, but when the actor who gets there and then throws open that cape, the audience goes crazy. And it doesn't make any difference what size, shape, sex or whatever that person is. There's just something about that reveal that is awe-inspiring and is just takes your breath away. And I can only imagine what that was like 50 years ago when it was first thought of as that kind of a reveal. It's like if they didn't know that what Frankenfurter's sexual mores were uh, at that time, and all of a sudden he reveals himself in all of his sort of garb. It must have been thrilling and still is thrilling. And that always takes me back going, really? 50 years later, this guy throws his cape off and you're going to clap and stand and do everything you can to I don't get it. I don't get it. That's great. I'm glad they do though.
Speaking of cold, like you were talking about with the mud scene, it's going to be cold when you come to Rochester on Thursday, but still is going to be exciting. What are you most looking forward to for this event at our Rochester Broadway Theater League?
Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to doing the whole thing with the shadow. It's our last night of the tour, and we've been doing like 35 cities in a row. And it's going to be sort of like the last scene where I was shooting in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm going to be I'm going to probably be sad because I'm going to miss this energy. Um, and But I think we'll be doing it next year. I don't think Rocky Horror is ever going to go away. I think we're on our third generation now, and maybe the fourth one is, well, they're a little too young at the moment to see it, but they'll come into their own, and I think it's nostalgic for me to spend so much time with the people who have been affected and love and are dedicated to this show and have been for years. And I like to spend as much time with them as I can and just see their creativity because they've always added a whole other level of showmanship to this, uh, and that's what I sat there and watch, Damn It, Janet, and I see the kids, you know, just acting their hearts out um, and all of and oh and the time warp. I mean, you're standing on stage or you're standing backstage and you go and you see 1,500, 2,000 people stand up and take a jump to the left, and a step to the right in an audience, and you're going, that's just that's just insane that is still the thing that people are still doing that. Thank God. But I always think these days that you can take a jump to the left, but just don't take a step too far right. Okay, because we have enough trouble in our understanding these days of the differences that we all have.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to Thursday at RBTL, Rocky Horror Picture Show 50th anniversary. Barry,
Thank,
thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me this morning.
thank
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 on demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.